It's time for our daily dose of cope, and we have the Honorable Reverend Leopards Jenkins at the news correspondent's desk today. So many faces to be eaten, so many stories to talk about. But first, we are about to talk about these farmers for Trump. I have talked about farmers for Trump. I'm going to talk about them again. Trump's policies are harming farmers from retaliation from tariffs and these trade wars. So let's talk about how farmers basically voted to hurt themselves. Bloomberg put out a whole article about it, and we're about to go through it. So for that, I have my fake glasses, and we're about to do this whole article. It's titled, America's Small Farmers Are Hurting with Trump Policies and Loan Woes. After years of low crop prices and rising costs, America's small farmers are facing a crisis brought on by higher interest rates, Trump's trade war, and dramatically reduced demand from China. In the first half of the year, just the first half, because we're only in July, small business bankruptcies filed by farmers and fishermen hit the highest number since 2020, which was the tail end of a similar cycle of low prices. Farm debt is expected to hit $561.8 billion this year, a record high according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture. We've had 3 years of tough sledding here where break-evens are at or below cost, said Blake Bergman, the chief operating officer at Land O'Lakes, Inc., one of the biggest farmer-owned cooperatives in the U.S. And we see this graph, and I actually talked about this a couple of days ago. This is talking about the bankruptcies that are on the rise. Right here is in blue is 2025. Is already much bigger than 2024, which is all of 2024. The farmers are going to struggle this year. Soybean, corn, and pork producers have been among the hardest hit farmers in recent years as China began buying more from competitors in Brazil and other parts of Latin America. Before Trump's first term in office in 2017, U.S. farmers dominated the Chinese import market, said Joseph A. Pfeiffer with the Iowa-based law firm Ag and Business Legal Strategies. Today, Brazil occupies that position, he said. Once you lose a customer, it's awful hard to get them back, he said. Firms that specialize in restructuring farm debt have seen an increase in business, lawyers said. This right here is going to impact us all, so listen closely. Land O'Lakes said its members are seeing dwindling cash reserves and growing concerns about the 2026 crop year. More new growers have been applying to a Land O'Lakes program that helps finance crop inputs like seeds and nutrients. They have to spend money to put the seeds in the ground, and then they need money also to pick it, and then they get reimbursed on the back end, but it costs money, and many of their grants have been pulled, and the price that they're getting for their crops is down. This is a double whammy right here, but also we've talked about how Trump is doing the mass deportation, so also their labor is disappearing as well. This is a triple whammy to farmers, but once again, the farmers voted for Trump. And in order to manage costs, executives at local farm retailers are getting involved in purchasing decisions usually handled by procurement managers, said Leah Anderson, the president of the company's crop inputs division. There's just more stress, and the level of rigor and discipline they're having to use at the local level just to make sure that they stay in position is certainly higher than I've seen in the past, Anderson said. Although the USDA forecasts net farm income to rise in 2025, that improvement is largely driven by government assistance. Returns from growing crops like corn and soy continue to drop. The last 2 years, overall farm incomes declined. Now we're seeing farmers run out of liquid cash after trying to just make it to next year, several years in a row, said Ryan Loy, an agriculture economist and assistant professor at the University of Arkansas. Lenders have pulled back from the farm business as the industry has struggled. Farmers borrow heavily at the start of a growing season and pay off those debts when they sell. To protect themselves, lenders are tightening collateral terms, bankruptcy lawyer David Mills said. For example, more lenders are making a claim on crop insurance payments, which farmers receive after being hit by bad weather or a drop in prices, Mills said. And as local banks have pulled back on farm loans, specialty firms have stepped in with higher interest rates and more onerous terms. Arkansas has been the hardest hit state in the recent uptick in small farm bankruptcies. About 25% of all farm bankruptcies this year were filed there, according to Lloyd. In Wisconsin, dairy farmers have had trouble hiring workers because of Trump's push to round up undocumented workers, said Mark Herring, a court-approved trustee who oversees small farm bankruptcy cases. Even filing bankruptcy can be difficult for small farmers. Those with less than $12.5 million in debt are able to use special rules that protect family homes by forcing lenders to adjust the mortgage. That benefit is not typically available in traditional Chapter 11 case, lawyers said. But to qualify for a Chapter 12 farm bankruptcy, the owner often must sell equipment or other assets and then use the cash to slash debt below the $12.5 million limit. Farm woes have also started to trickle down to the local businesses that rely on farmers. Instead of buying new tractors that can cost $250,000, many farmers are hunting for used equipment, said Mike Gerkins with Country Boys Auction and Realty in North Carolina. They don't have the extra cash because, keep in mind, farmers are some of the most subsidized people here in America. They are the welfare queens. They benefit from SNAP because SNAP means that farmers are going to get paid. All of the other the lunch programs, they benefit the farmers too. But Doge and Trump, they came in and slashed all of this stuff. And then on top of that, with China retaliating, many of these farmers do not have those buyers that were buying their food before now. This is all kinds of messed up. There was another article I wanted to get to in The Guardian, how Trump's anti-immigrant policies could collapse the U.S. food industry. I'm going to do some of this article. It says the Trump administration assault on immigrants is starting to hit the American food supply. In Texas, farmers who have for years depended on undocumented people for cheap labor to plant, harvest, and haul produce have reported that workers are staying home to avoid raids by ICE. In LA, restaurants and food trucks have been forced to close as the immigrants who cook and wait tables fear ICE and other law enforcement. Farm workers in many states are thinking about leaving the country because they are facing more obstacles to work under this anti-immigrant administration, said Elizabeth Rodriguez, director of farm worker advocacy with National Farm Worker Ministry, a longstanding organization in South Texas. They are scared, there are fewer opportunities, and they are no longer prospering here. Their fear will soon be seen in the harvest when the quantities of produce are depleted. And here's a visualization. Immigrants make up 27% of agricultural workers nationwide. In some states, it's even higher. In California, foreign-born workers are nearly 2/3 of the agricultural workforce. And in Florida, they make up more than half of crop production workers. From farm to table, at least 1 in 5 jobs in the food industry is carried out by immigrants, the equivalent of 14 million workers across the sector. This includes 27% of agricultural workers nationwide and 33% of meat packers. In restaurants, 46% of chefs and 31% of cooks were born outside of the United States, mostly in Mexico, China, Guatemala, and El Salvador. These jobs are critical. Immigrants made up a disproportionate number of essential workers during the COVID-19 pandemic, and many were exposed to unsafe conditions so that crops could be harvested, cows milked, and takeout delivered. Whether it's workers behind the scenes in meat packing plants or on the front lines of the grocery store, our country relies heavily on the labor of immigrants to keep our food supply running and our families fed. Without a stable, skilled workforce, safety and quality can decline, shelves can sit empty, and grocery prices could rise even more. Yet food industry jobs, from fields to slaughterhouses and supermarkets to delivery drivers, are notoriously difficult and often low paid, sometimes as little as $7.25 per hour, the federal minimum wage. Farm hands are often paid only a few dollars per box of tomatoes or cabbages harvested, backbreaking work with no shade. These jobs are hard to fill with Americans, and now we have the Trump administration saying that people that are on Medicaid, they can fill these spots. So we will see how that works out for Americans and our food supply.
the president has expressed concerns about how mass deportations would affect the farm industry. Do you have concerns on this front, and are you hearing about some of these top conservatives saying that there's a push for amnesty for this workforce?
I appreciate you bringing that up. There's been a lot of noise in the last few days and a lot of questions about where the president stands in his vision for farm labor. The first thing I'll say is the president has been unequivocal that there will be no amnesty, and I think that's very, very important. I and the rest of our cabinet certainly support that, effectuate that, and make sure that happens every single day. The second thing, to your question about mass deportations, the president and I have spoken about that once or twice, and he has always been of the mindset that at the end of the day, the promise to America to ensure that we have a 100% American workforce stands, but we must be strategic in how we are implementing the mass deportation so as not to compromise our food supply. Ultimately, the answer on this is automation, also some reform within the current governing structure. And then also, when you think about, there are 34 million able-bodied adults in our Medicaid program. There are plenty of workers in America, but we just have to make sure we're not compromising today, especially in the context of everything we're thinking about right now. So no amnesty under any circumstances. Mass deportations continue, but in a strategic and intentional way as we move our workforce toward more automation and toward a 100% American workforce.
They want to take away Social Security, science, Medicaid, and Medicare. Don't educate them, dumb them down, and let them breathe dirty air. Tear down the walls of ivy and let them all eat cake. Keep pushing lie after lie after lie after lie. Make them believe real news is fake. Take everything. Everything from them. Those fools thought they were free. Sitting on a golden toilet, stinking. Until they all bow down to me. Oh, but what they can't take away is ours. Because we the people got the power. Oh, they can't take what's ours. Because we the people have got the power. They can't take what's ours. God knows the people got the power. Say it with me, y'all. They can't take what's ours. Because we the people have got the power. Say it again. They can't take what's ours. We the people have got the power. Don't stop standing up. We're gonna be all right. Believe.